Hey guys, I'm going to do some Tour 8 today. I'm going to show you the way I have my bag set up here today. I have Apocalypse, Hammerhead, Goliath, Claw, Endbringer, Nirvana, and Spitfire. Normally I might not play with Goliath, but I know a lot of guys do, so I'm just putting that in my bag. I have Hammerhead in my bag. It's really interchangeable with Sniper, realistically. I could switch over to it. Might as well, just because it's more common of a club to see. So let's see if I can get a couple Tour 8 matches going here. See if I can get a lot of this tour. I played this a couple holes a few days ago, but overall I haven't played this tour very much over the last month or so, at least since the last tournament was around here. That might have even been two months ago. So I'm trying to remember. I know there's a lot of cliff courses, but then they did Tour 8 again. And I know it had like, trying to think. They added some holes, I believe. And these are part of some of the new holes are on this. With a wind like that, doesn't look like you can get really too aggressive. I think I can get down there quite a ways. I'm not sure if I can really knock it down there. My guess is I really can't, but I'll just hit this other shot because I'm not going to get there. It'll be easier to see you hit a skip shot. So something on this, I'm going to do about 3 bars or so. I'm not going to do anything fancy, like 3 rings of power. So I was like putting my aim arrow in kind of the blue, and you see I landed it short there. Not too aggressively. It wasn't like right on the edge or anything. A lot of winds you can go for this green. In fact, if I would have had this guy's wind the way it's pointed less in my face, I might have just hit the other shot so you guys could see it. Because I could have got down there pretty close. And getting down there pretty close has its advantages. The closer you get here, the easier that second shot is to hold out here. Let's see here. This guy hit a pretty decent shot too. It's not bad. It's almost as far as mine was. So there's 2 ways I'll play this. One, I'll just go for the dunk. It looks like I'm a little out of the range of where I'd like to go for the dunk, so I'll probably stick away from that shot here. Now here, I don't want to hop it into that. I don't want to hop it into that face, so I'm going to add just a touch of topspin, and I am going to try to land it on this fringe here. Keep it in mind that my trajectory might change a bit. So on a full wedge here, I'll probably go like 3. I'll probably go like 3 rings on that 5.3 wind. And it looks like I was able to get it. It was a pretty straight wind. It looked like I played it right about spot on. It was almost a full club, and I probably added 3 rings on that wind play there for you guys. So at 3, if I was playing roughly three rings, I was doing it pretty quick. It was a 5.3 wind, so that's roughly 1.8 per ring. per mile per hour wind. So 1.8 times 3 is 5.4, which is very similar to the wind that I just had there. So that's more or less what I was doing with my aimer. Having trouble hitting the exit button here. See if I can do a bunch of these so you guys can see multiple approaches. Like we can get that hole again and have a side wind or something and beat it down there a bit farther. Put it by the green, on the green somewhere. I still could have got down there pretty good, especially if I would have put on a kingmaker. Just seemed like a waste. You can still get it from back there where I was. It's a hard shot. I prefer to play it how I did, which was like skip all that nasty crap. So you see I landed on the fringe and then made sure my second hop was over that big bump that you see too. So that's one of the biggest keys that I can say is if you can ever stay away from crap like that, definitely do it. It's nice to put on Titans here on this one, just in case you get a wind that you can get a little adventurous with. One of the biggest problems I have with my sniper is it doesn't have as much topspin as my hammerhead does. So I'm really going to sacrifice a bunch here. So let's see if I can figure out this drive. I'm going to do slight curl. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of power. I'm really trying to get it down there towards the end of this fairway here. So I tend to get a little aggressive because I'm not really worried if it goes in the rough, but I want to make sure that it's within 10 yards of that fairway, and that's probably right about where I am. It's right on the shorter end of that, 10 yards. Probably had another 10 yards I could have got out of that. The closer you get to that edge, the more adventurous you can get with your second shot. And it also, of course, depends on the wind, but I could potentially get over to the other side there. And I might even try to do that anyway, more than likely. So this guy didn't get quite as aggressive as me. It really short changes yourself on what you can do here. So one of the things that you'll see me try to do, probably end up top spinning it in the water, but try it anyway. I'll go for this one. But as you see, I have to land it pretty aggressively. It's going to have to be towards the end here of this fairway. Doesn't look like I got to do anything funky for adding power or anything, but I'm probably going to need a good 15 rings plus another 6 miles per hour, so at least another 5 for that wind. So I'm playing quite a bit to the left to try to get on the other side here. It looks like I did it. I went through the fairway. The goal, I didn't expect that to land so aggressively there, where it landed right on the tip. Usually I don't get that close. So if it would have had it been shorter, ideally you want that second hop to hit the rough on that side. And then it just would have just nestled up there. I would have had an easy pitch for my eagle. So if you see what I did there, I went about 3 bullseyes over for my aim, and then added another 6 rings on top of that to actually get my aim where I wanted it. With this one, I'm going to try to find a landing zone that's not so glitchy. It looks like it could be this fringe. Plus the wind's not really going to play over here either. It's so short and uphill. So you just need to put it inside the hole there and then hit it. Hopefully get a perfect ball. Ah, missed it. So with a perfect ball there, I probably would have got it. And one of the things you want to concentrate is make sure you put your ball right in the center there. Make sure you're not short hitting it, long hitting it, nothing. You want to make sure that you're actually landing it on your mark. But what you see me do is I'll move up and down just to make sure that that little millimeter you might miss your shot arrow doesn't completely screw you. So even though the fact that you might miss your mark, you want to make sure you're not putting yourself bouncing sideways and crazy stuff because you missed by a few inches on that land zone. So that's what you'll see me do, is you'll see me drag a bunch of spots on the green there to try to find some place that's flat. So I've been really focusing on making shots that are on more flat surfaces lately, as opposed to I used to play just a certain way. I'd do that 2 bars of backspin every time, no matter what. And I've been really getting away from that and just playing it to where it's more consistent hops. So I'll just look all over. The problem is a lot of times you run out of time doing that. So I'll be looking and I have to shoot a lot of balls with 1-2 seconds left. That's the only downside to what I'm doing. So what you're going to see this guy do on this one, he's going to get way up here for this wind play. He's going to have to play at least, I think he had it kind of where he had it. It looked like he went around 10 rings and then he brought it back in some. Okay, so he's trying to just counter it some. Like I was saying, it looks like he was gonna have it, and then he kind of changed the way he was doing it a little bit. That is very interesting. I have never seen anybody way up there and almost bring it in the hole. I'm pretty sure I'm playing a tape though, but I've never seen it go way up there. I was very lucky because he was only a yard or two from not even being on that green. So you're gonna do something. You're gonna see me do something similar here. Of course, basically it's to the point where I have to make this in order to win. So that's a little unfortunate. So I'm gonna go at least 8-9 rings. It is gonna want to underplay because it's not full club here. But it's also going to want to kick more vicious to the left or to the right because of the extra spin that's happening. The extra side spin that you're getting. And it looks like, I missed by at least another yard or two that I needed to bring that or have it come in a little bit slower. So it was coming through a little bit too fast. You get a sense there of what I did there. So that gives you an idea how much you need to play. I probably played 8 rings, between 8 and 9, and then countered it just a tiny bit. And I only missed by probably a yard there of what I needed. It was just coming in a little bit hotter than I like. So if anything, what I did there was like 2 bars of backspin, maybe 2 1/4, somewhere in that regard. Now, if it's upwind or downwind, you're going to have to add or subtract accordingly. But as like a stock shot, you should just think like 2 bars or 2 1/4. Somewhere in there is kind of ideal. Of course, it always depends on your landing zone too. So you got to make sure you're within the vicinity of where that rough is. If you see where I landed, it's usually maybe about 3 yards short of the rough, ideally. I'll get a little bit more aggressive on that if I have to, or a little bit less aggressive if I don't need it. So for instance, if it was straight into the wind, I wouldn't need to land it that close. But if it's downwind, you might want to land it a bit tighter. But you always have to add on maybe a ring if it's downwind or into the wind, either. I've done some videos on this hole. Man, I'm trying to remember even how to do it. I'm gonna do 3 bars. So I'm playing this a little bit on the safer side, just hitting it right down the middle. I've done this hole on tour 3 it is, with a full hook, with a full slice, where I'll aim way over in that bunker. I probably had a wind that I could pull that shot off here, but I'd say the more later tours you get, the less you should try to flirt with that right side over there. So if you want to check out some of my other Asia videos, I think I have some lower level tours of this where I hit a little bit different drive. You can try to do what he did, which was kind of take it to the end of the fairway. I don't think it's just not necessary. So I would just kind of steer clear of it if I was you. Surely you can go for that shot if you want, but so one of the shots that I don't like is you don't want to play anything right here with backspin. That can be a little tricky. You're better off aiming over here and doing a curl shot, or play this rough shot. There's a rough shot here you can do. I'm going to do the curl shot, I believe. So let me see if I can dial this up. I'm kind of running out of time. I'm going to do 4 bars. I'm going to go for perfect here. Play it for a perfect ball, basically. And you see I kind of grazed the pin there, or took it kind of on line. You don't need to do anything too fancy on this hole. What I did was a full curl, and you see that was more than enough. You just had to aim aggressive, and you don't have to play 5 rings. So like with a sniper, it's usually 1 yard per ring because it's very accurate. Because my accuracy on it's 100, so it's only 1 yard per ring. So you would normally go like 5.5 rings on that. You don't quite have to get that aggressive because it's so uphill on this second shot. It's probably more like 4 rings is all you need. So this guy, to be able to blast it there, he got fortunate with the wind, and all things considered, plus having a Titan on makes it a little bit easier. But there's winds that can make that shot really tricky. But this is good because we'll get to go to the par 3, do some tiebreakers here, see what we got. Great ball, rolls it in. Okay, so I do a little bit different shot on this one. It just depends on the wind, because sometimes you have to play it with a long iron, sometimes you get to play it with a wood. This is one of the times that I think we're going to play it with a wood. And I do it more or less how this guy is. I think he put full backspin on it, and I do something very similar. A stop shot on this is ideal. if you can do a stop shot on this hole, it's a very beneficial shot. And when I mean stop shot, it's basically like full backspin to where that very last hop, it doesn't really run out, it just kind of stops. So it's a really good way to go about this hole. So you're going to see me do the same thing. If it's downwind, I have to go at it with a long iron. So it's nice that, you know, I always find it a little bit easier to play this hole when it's with a stop shot. So I'm going to aim here, and then I'm going to play, you have to play at least what you usually would, and then you might want to add an extra ring. So if I would usually go 4, I'm going to go 5 here. Of course I got the perfect ball, and of course you saw that I was curling it a bit too, just to bring it in towards the hole. And you see I left it short there, but I had it going right on line. That little bit of curl. So what you'll see me do, because the straighter you end up trying to play it, the hops start to get a little weird. So that's why you saw me do it with a little bit of curl. I feel like when you land it over there, or have the ability to land it over there and utilize the slope, it just kind of releases a little bit better. So sometimes you'll even see me do it with side spin instead. So I can land it over there. I'll do like 2 or 3 bars of side spin to the right, so I can still aim over that way. Because what I'll find happens if I go straight on to that hole, it'll sometimes hop dead right. Like it'll make a right bounce. And then you'll see a lot of guys miss 2 or 3 yards right every time, because they went more on line with the hole. When you land it on the left over there, it seems to be a lot more consistent with the way it hops. So that's why you saw me do what I did there. And again, you can counter that with right side spin as well as an alternate approach. So this hole I really like. Of course, I will always, virtually always, as long as it allows for me to do so, is I'll go for this alternate fairway over here. With the wind that I have right now, I'm going to have to kind of play it for a hop off the rough. So I got to figure out, you know, how much topspin I can go without getting 2 fairway bounces, because two fairway bounces is going to be kind of detrimental here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to kind of counter it. And what countering does is it'll hopefully make it more into the wind, and hopefully this second bounce is on this rough. Oh, I just hit the fairway, but it landed soft for whatever reason. I don't think it hit the rough, and I'm surprised that it didn't run through. And that could have had to do something to do with that counter spin that I was putting on it too. So you can get over there and at least play that shot, even if you hit it in the rough over there. Basically anything, Apocalypse 2 or greater, you can play that shot over there. Even extra mile, depending on the wind. But with my wind, I'm saying, you would have been fine as long as you put on like a Titan or whatever. You'd be good to get over there. And I don't even mind. I'd rather be in the rough over there and just try to get a perfect ball than play it the alternate way where you just saw that guy go. But that's just personal preference. Because you can't refute either way. Like if this guy still holds it out from over there, like you can't say there's anything wrong with going this way. I don't like the way that it tends to bounce over here. Plus with the slope, the way that the slope is over here. Like this is going to want to You know, it just comes in funny, even with him trying to go full backspin here. Just the spin kind of really aggressively jerks sometimes. And it'll take funny hops off this green because it's so sloped upwards. See if I can get some more matches in here. I'll try to start getting into some more playoff holes too. Like, I didn't have to make that putt, but at the same time, when you're going first, you don't know if he's going to make that. Because he could, especially with the wind that he had, he could have just as easily made that second shot, as even though he missed it, he could have still had that. Alrighty, so here we got plenty of wind. Last tournament here, I had a field day with this hole. I played this hole terribly in the tournament. I remember when we had this on the scoring round, I think I birdied it both times. Very frustrating to birdie this hole twice. Extremely frustrating. So what you're going to see me do here is I'm going to try to curl it. I'm going to try to keep it away from that right side, but I'm also going to want to try to keep it away from the trees. As downwind as it is, I'm not getting super aggressive. I'm just doing what I need to do. Full top spin, taking it into the yellow. I could have went full one. That's kind of the reasons that I messed this up on the tournament. When we had this last tournament, was just trying to do too much. I ended up in the trees both times. And the only time I think I messed this hole up the whole week was on the scoring day. So I cost myself 2 strokes. Well, I think I cost myself 1 stroke because I think I got a win that I actually got out of it once. But it is not fun being over in those trees, let me tell you. So one of the things you'll see me do, and this guy kind of doing, he's curling it, trying to make sure that it stays out of those trees. He even did 2 hops on that first fairway, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with playing it that way either. So what I'll do here is more of no side spin, no up spin. I'll just kind of go for this shot kind of as is. So I'm going to try to correct a little bit for the wind, and you see where I'm kind of making my third bounce. I basically put my Goliath here, and I'm going to try to attempt to play this wind. I'm not going to play very much. 3.5-ish rings. I'm going to counter it just a tiny. I hit a great ball on accident. So this is going to put it out to the right. It's not going to get, which is also going to cause it to not run out far enough because it's utilizing too much slope up there, and it's going to be short. It was not my intention to do that. So this guy's on the short end of the sniper here. You just need to underplay this just a tiny bit. I'd say somewhere around the neighborhood of 6 or 7 rings for a correction. I always do what he's doing, which is like 2 or 3 bars. I probably would have stuck with what he originally did, which was the 2. this one's going to go way up the hill because of that shank. That's brutal being there. I would just go for a dunk shot if I was there. I remember missing that pitch in the tournament. It is not a fun one. Of course, if I would have just went for the dunk, I would have probably had it. So, no real benefit to try to play this slope here. It can get very tricky. You have to be so precise with your landing zone. He has no room for error here. He has to put the thing in the center. He has to get perfect. He might have just got this one. And that's really what it requires, is to do all of that. Because without doing all of that, just missing your mark by a millimeter seems to cause that ball with so much slope to just completely deviate offline. Unfortunately, they gave us this hole again. I was hoping we could see some more holes. There's nothing worse than seeing the same playoff hole over and over. Gets super boring. So that was a pretty solid shot. Given that wind, 2 yards, it's decent. You want to strive for a bit closer than that. So one of the things that you'll see me here is you don't really have to get too aggressive here. I'm going to do more or less what you saw me do last time. 2 1/4. I need to go at least 5 rings here because it plays downhill. So you'll see me bring the pointer up and I'll probably be at least where that 5th ring is, maybe a little outside. Concentrating on where to keep my bullseye kind of centered here. Let's see if I can get this to check up and stop within 2. And it looks like I'm very close. Too close for comfort. And it looks like I might have just overplayed that by a hair too, because I shouldn't have missed on that side of the hole. But you get the idea of what to do there. I'm pretty sure I went outside of 5 rings, 5 and something. Like I was outside the white. Like if you saw my correction there. Probably didn't have to be, but the more downwind, the more you have to kind of overplay that one. Especially with the correction, with the ring correction, or with the wind correction, with how it will change the flight path of your ball, and that shot trail will change. This is one of my favorite holes on this tour. I like how many different ways you can approach it. It's a very interesting hole. The way that I typically play it is I'll land it short of this bunker intentionally and then just top spin it over it. This guy is doing that with a marlin ball. If you don't have a power ball at all, you can do whatever. You don't have to, you're never going to run it into that bunker unless it was downwind. So you'll see me do something similar, but I'll use a power ball probably. Well, with getting downwind like that, I might actually put on a Titan, to be honest with you, because I can get really aggressive. I I could have got even more aggressive had they actually gave me the wind. But I can get way down there. Now it's going to take an interesting shot. So here I'm going to have to correct for about 5. I'm trying to hit the fairway in between the rough and the bunker, but hopefully bailing out towards the rough, because if I hit the rough, it'll probably run through into the fairway. So I'm trying to really thread that needle, but you see how I'm too aggressive in the rough, and you see how it rolled out in the fairway for me. So I haven't done it in a while, so I wanted to play it a little on the safer side, make sure it was in the rough, not the bunker. And as you see, I overplayed that. So what you saw me do is I stacked my arrows, my bullseye rings, and I put my outer edge originally on the fairway and then stacked one on top of the other. And then aside from that, I just tried to play the wind. But I probably corrected a little bit too much on that, on the wind. And you can play it like that with an Apocalypse 5 or an Apocalypse 6. I'm sure that the way that you have to adjust changes the less accurate your club comes. And there was an accuracy drop off on Apocalypse 4. So changes a little bit. So one of the things you can do here is you can use this backstop. And it usually works a little bit better when you have actual backspin on it too. So what you're going to see me do here, now I don't remember exactly what part I need to hit it. I'm hoping it's around here, but I really don't remember at all. And again, I need to make sure that I play enough for this wind, so I'm going to play at least a solid 3 rings. Might have needed to play a little bit more than that, but I'm thinking with the backspin I'll still be okay. Nope, I should have took one more ring off. It's not very smart to keep it up here on this slope. So I probably should have did 4 to be on the safe side, but I thought with the way that I'd get nice hops that I'd still be okay. It's not a problem being up there, because it's like a 2-yard pitch. So people always, think that you're in trouble, and then you're not. As you can see, I mean, look how large my shot circle is. You just want to make sure that you get it on, land it on some place that's not super glitchy. You see how big my shot error was too. I don't think I have to be very perfect with this. It should go in. More than anything, it's all about making sure you don't add or subtract power. So making sure that you are centered on that bullseye and not adding or hooking or anything like that. But it was so close that probably isn't going to shank outside of range. I probably could have took it outside the bullseye there and still made that, because you could see how small that bullseye was. It was so super tiny. So what you'll see me do on this hole is about 4 bars. So here I'm at like 4 1/4. Six rings. I got to go at least 6 rings here, so you're going to see me do this fast. This one always likes to play an extra ring too. So let's see if I can get this, especially with the correction, to come up. I think I hit that fringe, which tends to kill it a little bit. Ideally, I try to make that second hop land right over, and that time I accidentally hit it. So it kind of changed my shot shape, and it made it check up a little bit more. Hopefully that doesn't end up costing me the way that I played that. So I would never play it this way. I would say, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I don't think you should try to aim for that fairway unless you absolutely have to. So he's intentionally playing that hop off that first fairway, which is weird for me. Like, why would you intentionally want to aim for a target that has almost no margin of error? Like, that fringe isn't that big, and then you see it checks up. So why would you aim for something that does that? You might as well make your second hop on the green where it rolls consistently. It always hits a downslope and just runs towards the hole. So you never want to hit that face unless you absolutely have to, because the shot is kind of forcing you to. For instance, if it was straight in the face, like super strong, 14, 15 miles per hour, you might end up hitting it just because it's a real tricky wind to. Plus, you can't really use backspin on winds that strong. So you got to do it more of like 1 bar of backspin. So you're better off hitting that face if you can, because it'll hit that face and kind of die, since you couldn't utilize so much spin. So that would be an instance where you'd want to hit it off that face that guy was aiming for. Now, he could get lucky on that shot and he could pull it off, but it's just an unnecessary thing. So I would say, if you're going to go for that, to only do it when necessary. Let's see what we got here. So I don't really need a lot of power here. The ball's naturally going to want to go for a ride here. I bounce it off a downslope. I'm just going to run it through that rough into the second fairway here.